Hello and welcome this lovely Thursday morning to Market Insight. My name is Lavina Emma. So during the week, the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Mr. Cardoso, met with the House of Representatives to address the rising cost of living and the Forex exchange. So to address the issues of Forex hoarding, speculation, dollar scarcity, which further fuels the depreciation of the Naira, the CBN set the NOP limit for overall foreign currency assets and liabilities, including both on and off balance sheet, to not exceed 20% short or 0% long. So on today's show, we are going to discuss how this directive from the CBN to commercial banks on foreign exchange will affect Nigerians, including the rising cost of living. So join me after the show. I have a wonderful guest to discuss this with.
Inflationary pressures are expected to decline in 2024 due to the CBN's inflationary targeting policy, aiming to rein in inflation to 21.4%, aided by improved agricultural productivity and easing global supply chain pressures. The Nigerian foreign exchange market is currently facing increased demand pressures, causing a continuous decline in the value of the Naira. Factors contributing to this situation include speculative Forex demand, inadequate Forex supply due to non-remittance of crude oil earnings to the CBN, increased capital outflows, and excess liquidity from the fiscal activities.
From that brief clip, the Central Bank of Nigeria governor, he talked about how, yes, he's aware that in the Nigerian economy, we currently have Forex exchange issues. We've been having scarcity of dollar. We've also been experiencing speculation with our commercial banks. So how do we solve these issues? Because, yes, I'm aware the Central Bank governor created the NOP metric to measure how the banks keep their foreign reserves and also how they can distribute to customers. So how is this going to be achieved to eliminate completely speculation and dollar scarcity in the economy?
Well, thank you very much, Emma. You will see that the CBN is doing, these are desperate moves,
yes,
to ensure that we have some stability in the value of our national currency. Yes. But again, these are interventionist policies and they will not solve the problem. You are not looking at the fundamentals. You want to get involved in banks' operation in terms of their Forex, you know what they do, you say the NOP should be more than this percent and all that. All these are operational issues that concerns the bank. Your rules and regulation has already taken care of all that. Like I said, it's a desperate move for them to try to stabilize the value of the Naira. Now, the fundamental issue is simple demand and supply. You are saying, why is the dollar rising, or the Naira is depreciating compared to the dollar? Now, you have an economy where I wouldn't say dollarize. Even as we speak in Nigeria, there are some schools. They want to prepare invoice and they give you in dollar amount. Yes, so, would that be the fault of the banks? Yes, the banks is just part of one issue now, that you should have guidelines when it comes to foreign exchange operation. And if you have seen that any of your deposit money banks that you regulate are not meeting to those things, you sanction them, okay? But do you give what you don't have? We need to increase the supply side of dollars. It's as simple as that. Everybody wants dollar, dollar, dollar. And when you blame some Nigerians, you want to go for treatment. And you are saying it is abroad that you want to get the best treatment. It's abroad you want to send your children to school. Do you blame people? Because it is not even government money. It is their own money that are going to be used. But there is a pressure on the Naira. And that is why we are saying more demand for this dollar, the prices or the value of our Naira will continue to go down. It's just simple, basic economics. What do we need to do? Yes, I share the concern of the CBN governor there. Is also a very senior colleague as a stockbroker. But this problem cannot be solved alone by central bank. They will play their role as bankers to the government. At the same time, to price stability in the economy. Because with this dollar issue now, we are seeing prices of food items rising on a daily basis, and it's affecting the average Nigerian. So what the average Nigerian wants to see we're not even interested in the value of the naira for say. But let what they want to go and buy, basic food items, is affordable. Before, the average Nigerian will not be talking about dollar. But today, the woman that sells stockfish in Oyinbo market will be telling you, last month I bought it 20,000 per bag. Now it is 40,000 naira. It's a matter of what is it? He says it is dollar. You know? So it has affected every aspect of the economy, and that is why we are seeing all this kind of complaint. Like I said, what do we need to do to begin to solve this problem? At least put measures in place, increase our dollar supply. That is the easiest way. And how do we do that? What do we receive? It's an economy of monoproduct. It's only one product we are selling, which is oil and gas. And even the oil and gas we are said that we'll be receiving these dollars, we're not even getting the optimal from it because of oil theft and so many other things. Then, of course, the average Nigerian, we must look inward and see that we make less demand for dollar.
Yes.
Will you blame speculators who on their own private business, they say that, oh, the dollar is going up, oh, you know, I have some cash, let me go and buy this dollar, and they store. Because we are told in civil economics that money is a store of value. So they don't want to store in naira, they want to store in dollar.
Dollars, yeah.
How can you go to their houses and tell them, bring out your dollars and come and supply the market? It's not possible. So the only thing the government can do is to increase the supply side. In fact, nowhere in the world that a national currency is just left to float. What is this floating? You are saying let the market forces determine the price of naira, supply and demand. And I know as a stockbroker, if you have a lot of people, you know, demanding for a particular security, the price of that security will go up.
Yes, yes.
And the only way, and that's why we have what they call market makers. We are saying CBN play the role of a market maker. When people are demanding, you supply. When people are supply, you now take it back to create a form of stability.
Yes.
But do you give what you don't have? CBN does not even have the necessary supply of this dollar to create that stability in the market. That is why we're experiencing this.
Okay, as a well-experienced stockbroker, I want to also mention that during the CBN governor's speech, he said there was a very new development which had not happened in a very long time at the stock market exchange. There was a transaction of $800 million in stocks, and this is something really new. So based on that, before we go further into that, can we just talk about how the stock market fared on Wednesday, 7th of February. Let's just talk about who the top gainers were and who the bottom losers were. Starting with the top gainers, first of all. We know that looking at our graph, yes, we can actually see who the top gainers are. We have starting with 9.84% to 9.09%, 8.78%, and 8.70%. So these are our top gainers for yesterday at the stock market exchange. Yes. Could you please expatiate further on this?
Okay, looking at what we have there,
gainers,
this is what happened in the market yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, I was at the market there and I saw this. Of course, the reports were out. Yes, we are looking at ICO, Cadbury, Guinness, Tantalizer, and of course, Honey Flour.
Yeah, the bottom losers.
Yeah, those are the bottom losers. Now, when you talk of the stock markets, okay, this is just one aspect of the capital market. Yeah. You're saying the stock market on a daily basis, that is buying and selling.
Yes, yes.
And as people continue to buy and sell, prices are about to go up and come down. So on a daily basis, you will see at the end of the trading session for that day, then when the closing gong is sounded, we'll see that some equities will have gone up while some will have come down. So this just gives a summary of the top, these are the top 5 gainers for yesterday. That is Maya, Triple G. You can see the percent they all acquired
this is
there.
Quite high, yes, yes.
Yes, it's a normal. A security cannot go above 10% in the particular trading day. And we are seeing the losers, we call them losers, or the laggards. That is, at the end of trading for that particular day, these ones lost in terms of their value. It does not mean that these companies are not doing well. It only tells you that we are having more of the demand. You have more of the supply. So if, let's take for example now Cadbury, maybe that yesterday, you had more people who wanted to
trade
wanted to sell Cadbury.
Cadbury, yes.
So the price of Cadbury will come down.
Okay.
So if you had more people who want to buy a particular security, the price will go up, all things being equal. So this is just the normal dynamics of the market. Prices will go up and prices will come down.
Okay, and then going forward, please, yesterday when the Central Bank of Nigeria, when the governor, Mr. Cardoso, said that the stock market, during the stock market exchange yesterday, that there was over $800 million in transaction. I think that is quite good, but how does it impact on our economy? Because we hear about these figures on the stock market exchange, and we wonder how it's going to influence. Does it mean that in terms of goods and monetary transactions, things will actually get better for Nigerians?
Okay, yeah, the stock market is one market. Like I said, is just one aspect of the capital market. The capital market is the broad overview. Just like you have the money market,
yes,
you have the capital market. Though this differentiation does not really matter because it is still one financial market. Now, when you now come down and you see the stock market performing, note there are other markets in the capital market. You have the commodities market. We are looking at the securities market now. That is the equities market, which most people call the stock market. Now, the benefit there, the stock market is supposed to mirror what is happening in the economy.
Okay.
Because you have all these companies that are listed,
yes,
their shares in the markets, and their performance will determine whether their prices will go up or come down. So, and if you look at the overall, if the market is doing well, it is expected that the economy should also be doing well, because the market is supposed to reflect the economy. But if you look at the Nigerian economy and you look at our stock market, not all sectors in the economy is actually listed on the stock exchange.
Yes.
And that's why we're encouraging more and more companies to come and list. The shipping industry is not there in the stock market. Even entertainment is not even there. Even the media, like your,
yes,
is not even listed.
In the stock market.
Just one or two of the media houses that are listed here. So yes, but the stock market will still play its role in trying to serve as a barometer for the economy. And again, I must say this: the stock market has its own behavior.
Okay.
There are a lot of things that affect what you see in the stock market, that affect the price. There are market hearsay. There is even sentiments.
Okay.
There is a lot of emotional issues there. But the thing there is, can we measure some of these emotional issues? That's why I say there is what they call behavioral finance. So somebody has asked me that question several times. I'm saying, come, our stock market is doing so. In fact, we're judged as the best in the world.
That's wonderful.
Yes. For the whole of last year. And just for January alone, we had over more than 25% year-to-date improvement.
Okay.
Now, but coming down to the economy, prices of food items is going high. People are complaining and all that.
Yes.
Yes, it is bound to happen that way. And we cannot say that the economy is doing well because the stock market is, for now, is doing well. It's just a dynamics of buying and selling. And of course, how many Nigerians are even playing the stock markets? If I go by the statistics, we have about 6 million registered investors. And how many of these investors are even active on a daily basis? So the market at times has its own behavior, which might not reflect what is happening in the economy. But for those who are in the market, yes, I know somebody that we bought, I don't want to even mention the firm, but we bought a security for that person, and within just 3 weeks or thereabouts, the person had over 50% return.
That's great.
So you can see that the market now serves as a safe haven to beat inflation. We're talking of inflation almost 30%, 28.92 as inflation figures.
Yes.
And somebody is getting a return of over 50%. So he's encouraged and he wants to come back and invest more in the stock market because the return he's getting is beating the general inflation rate. And again, you see that most of these companies, they are posting their figures to the market now. Their full year report is also already coming. And once you have a company posting good results, of course,
investors will be attracted.
Investors who want to continue with that company, and of course, they will be happy. So that is why we are seeing the market. But of course, if you have been following the market very well, you see that I think it was on Tuesday, the market was, in fact, they started the week in a bearish note. Yesterday, Monday, yesterday, no, Tuesday, then yesterday it was flat. And as I speak to you now, this around after 11, the market is in continuous trading now. Buying and selling is taking place. And of course, some stocks will have gone up, some will have come down. But at the end of the day, we will see the reports. And
certainly, and we hope
yes, it has to do basically demand and supply.
Yes. Okay. So I'm still discussing further on the governor's speech when he was called before the House of Reps. He also stated that he believes with the measures that government is going to put into place, there will be a reduction in inflation up to 21.4%. I don't know how he intends to achieve this, but he specified that there'll be increase in sale of crude oil production and also our exports in terms of our agro produce, what we are exporting, not just the cash crops, the food crops, other minerals that we have in this country. He believes by sale of our exports and sale of crude oil, these will bring down the cost of living in the society. So how do you think, I mean, yes, the central bank governor is very optimistic, but do you really think 21.4% reduction in inflation is possible?
Well, I will not say I won't envy the CBN governor for now, and I wouldn't want to be a spokesperson for the government. You see, when you talk of financial market communication, you need to communicate in a very simple way for the market to understand. And of course, the average Nigerian in Oyinbo market, the average Nigerian in my village in Patani, they need to understand what the government people are saying. You can see he's telling us that we need to increase our production. Productivity has to increase. That is the only way we can get the necessary dollar supply. He mentioned of our crude oil, that we need to sell more of crude oil. But do you know what is going on now in that space? Oil thefts. Oil thefts.
We don't have functional refineries.
Fine. We're even talking of crude now. We're not talking of refined product.
Yes,
we're talking of crude.
Yes.
And we're not even meeting our OPEC quota.
Exactly.
OPEC is giving their members quota. We are not meeting that quota. And when you don't meet your quota, your expected revenue, you will not meet. Then what about other sectors in our economy? Yes, they say agriculture. What is the figures? What is correlation of agriculture to our GDP? There is a lot of issues. So I'm happy with him. He's saying we need to increase productivity. We need to increase our agricultural output. And of course, other non-oil sector needs to be developed. But again, this is not new. The last administration for the past 8 years, they were telling us diversify the economy. But up to today, what has happened? So there must be that political will. For me, I don't even really think that, they would mention insecurity and all that. That is just one aspect of it. But let us do the bit we can. And of course, we'll begin to see an improvement in the economy. We must. For us, that figure is talking about that inflationary figure. He has to also look at what is even the cost of that inflation now. We're talking of a cost push inflation, where the rising cost of inputs, that is the issue, rising cost of input, and it's affecting our production base. So when these manufacturers, when they produce, the cost of production is very high. And of course, they want to make their money by selling it higher to the consumer. So the first thing which I agree with him, increase our productivity, increase our crude oil sales, so that we can get more dollars from there. At the same time, look at other aspects of our economy, the non-oil sector. We should be able to, not just, like you said, not just sending this product raw. Let us see how we can add value to them and send to the international market. Because that's one thing, even if our crude, of course, thank God, they say Dangote refinery is going to be working, but again, it's a private refinery. But you can see Dangote now going outside the country to get his crude, because the Nigerian government, or we cannot supply him the necessary crude that he requires, and he's a private businessman. You cannot invest that kind of amount of money in that kind of project, and you just want anybody to disturb you. So he's going outside to get his crude, which is going to buy in dollars. So how do you expect him now, if he's refined, for him to now sell in local currency? But I just believe that the Nigerian government can have an arrangement with him where, yes, because of course, NNPCL, we are told, has 20% in that Dangote refinery. So Nigeria has 20% of that refinery. So let's see how he can assist us so that we can also get this petroleum products at, not even at a cheaper rate now, but at least the availability of this product. So we need to go back to basics, increase our agricultural activities, productivity and all that, then look at other non-oil sector to improve the economy in terms of our dollar receipts.
Okay, before I go further on this matter, I also like to talk about, we have all experienced this when we go out during our day-to-day activities, the cost of transportation, the cost of food, and we always hear, since this has been happening since last year, we always hear different representatives of our government telling us, okay, yes, this is a global situation, there are issues of insecurity in all over the world, so that's why we have issues with exportation and also importation. But this has led to today, right now, the cost of living in Nigeria is really, really high. Everybody is affected. I really don't know of anybody who doesn't complain of the cost of food, the cost of fuel, the cost of transportation. Yes, we saw during that speech with the Central Bank of Nigeria governor how he kept insisting that it is possible to reduce inflation, that the cost of living will also reduce. And we also, but how does this translate? Because we know that before we start talking about agro-produce exports,
yes.
Now how does this, how exactly is this going to translate to the common man on the street? Because you're saying, okay, exports are agricultural products. Do we have enough to feed with in this country to start with before we start talking about exporting? And how would that help us as citizens of this country? Because food is something we all need every day, every day. Please,
yes,
your
let's
on
look
this,
at it
please.
from this perspective. You know, let's look at it this way. Now, I have said, a country that cannot feed itself, then you cannot stand in the Committee of Nations.
Yes.
God has blessed us with arable lands. If you go from my village to Zamfara, to Sokoto, to Badagry, we all have arable land. We don't have any excuse that we cannot go back to the farm. Agriculture used to be the mainstay of Nigerian economy in the days of cocoa, groundnut, oil palm. I mean, we're even told that some persons came to Nigeria to learn some of these trades.
From Malaysia to learn how to make palm oil. And they are the leading exporter of palm oil. Yes.
So what has happened to us? Because oil came and we just abandoned the farmland. Today, if you go to some villages, the youth don't want to go to farm any longer.
Well, sometimes they cite insecurity as the issue there.
Yes, the insecurity, for me, is just one aspect of it. There are some villages today, it is still the old people that goes to farm. And I must make bold to tell you that even in my own village, my grandmother does not need fertilizer. She will go and till our farmland, and she will produce a lot of cassava, which they can now transform to gari and all that. So yes, the fuel situation, when you remove subsidy without making proper arrangement, then, and you know that Nigerian economy is petrol driven.
Yes.
Our transportation is basically on road. And all the energy they use there is what? PMS, or even the industry, diesel.
Yes.
So once you remove that, I'm not saying removing fuel subsidy is a bad thing, but you must have measures on ground. And it has to be a gradual thing. Yes, we're among those people that said removal is good for Nigeria, so that we're going to save a lot of money. But where is the money that is being saved? How is it being used today now? And that is why I still call on the federal government. You need to be transparent. Now, we have seen some of the FAC allocation that has gone to all the state government. Even this one they have collected. Have we seen any meaningful development that these state governors have made? But everybody is calling federal government, federal government. What about the subnationals? What are they doing? So we need to go back and let our governors and, of course, the president, our ministers realize that they are there to serve the people. And if there are issues, challenges like this, there is nothing wrong to call experts and let people begin to talk and discuss and see that measures are being taken. Of course, I cannot stop talking when it comes to the issue of corruption. That is also a major problem. That is why we are in this situation today. So, yes, telling you to go back to agriculture is fine, but at the same time, like you have said, agriculture has to be mechanized.
It
has to be mechanized. Modern techniques. Of course, we have all the schools of agriculture, professors of agriculture, come out with improved breeds, improved variety, so that when our farmers use them, we're able to get as much harvest per hectare of land.
Yes.
I mean, there are some countries today, they say they are desert, but they are also exporting agricultural products. So we just need to go back and see how we can make agriculture more profitable to the youth, and of course, we can now begin to feed ourselves. You cannot tell me because there is war in Russia and Ukraine, then we cannot produce enough wheat in Nigeria here. When we have the climatic condition for us to produce wheat that can serve some of our flour mill industry, and we begin to do, but we still import some of these things.
Yes,
so we need to improve our production. If it is insecurity, that can be taken care of, and let the government begin to show a lot of leadership in those areas, and we will see an improvement in the economy. Yes, for Cardoso, it is not going to be overnight for us to reduce inflation. If it is possible that by just a mere announcement, the government will have done that since, I will have seen the reduction, but it's not going to be an overnight thing. We need to look at those inputs that is making our production costs so high and see how that can be taken care of before we can see any meaningful reduction in inflation rate. Well, we're expecting the next MPC meeting that will be coming up in sometime the end of this month. Okay. I will see how the members in that MPC will be able to come out with reasonable rates that will push the economy forward.
Okay. We could also watch another clip during this the governor's speech to the House of Reps members, where he also stressed further that there will also be a contribution, an increased contribution of 3.76% to our GDP in terms of crude oil production and agro-produce. But he also further stressed that we will also, that agro-produce, also back to agro-produce again, it also needs to be, needs to really be looked into. So I just want to state, recently we've noticed that our agro-produce has been rejected in the international market. So how does he intend to achieve these things? Because he also quoted from international organizations like the World Bank's ratings of Nigeria, that the World Bank rating of Nigeria has moved from being a stable economy to, rather, it has moved from being a stable economy to a positive economy. So how is that going to benefit us? Because we know we in the country, the citizens, we actually face this rising cost of living every day. Apart from that, the forex issues too. So yes, we know international organizations like World Bank and also countries, international agencies like Moody's, like Standard & Poor's, when they rate the economy of this country, they say we've moved from stable economy to a positive economy. But how are these things affecting the common man on the streets? Actually?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, when you have Fitch rating, Standard & Poor's, these are just giving us projection, looking at it from their own perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, you can come up, IMF can come and say they have a positive outlook in the Nigerian economy. There's nothing wrong with that. They are telling you that if you put things in place, then of course your economy is likely to be in this kind of situation. Yes, yes. It is not that because they made those kind of projection or pronouncement, then that is what it is. That is one. Then for our agricultural produce being rejected in the international market, that's why we have the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. That is, it's an international market. And your buyers there are people that wants to buy these products at the quality that is suitable for them in their own production. I'll give you an example. If you produce, maybe is it sorghum or millet, a certain variety, yes, and maybe as a brewer, I use it to produce my beer, and it's not the quality that I want, then I will reject. If you are selling to me as a brewer, you are a farmer, I will reject it. So the same applies our agricultural products that we are sending to the international market. They will need to measure, do a lot of analysis on those products. And if it does not meet the quality, the standard which those buyers want, of course, they will reject it. So that is why we need that Export Promotion Council. I know you're doing a great job. You need to talk to our exporters, especially agricultural produce exporters, for them to understand the quality that these their buyers require and ensure that you have those kind of qualities and you export to them to reduce this incidence of them rejecting our product that we're exporting to the international market. I mean, I cannot buy a product that will not meet my specification. It's only when it has met my specification, I will pay for it and begin to use it for my own productive processes.
Okay, thank you very much. But I also want to talk about the forex issues. Yes, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the governor, Mr. Cardoso, he stated that banks have been accused of speculation, banks have been accused of hoarding. So he created the NOP metric to see to it that between as to what the banks owe and what they own, there should be 0 to 20%. So can you please explain further?
Okay. Yes, again, I said
the NOP metric.
These are operational issues
that
the banks, in terms of their forex operation, international operation, and CBN is the regulator of these banks. You have guidelines guiding those operations. So, but again, these banks are owned by private individuals, and they want to make profit. Now, if they have seen opportunity in terms of the forex operation, the NOP and all that, yes, they are human beings. They might want to try and go against some of those rules and regulations. We have seen here in Nigeria where some banks prefer to do certain things and pay penalty, because at the end of the day, the profit they will have gotten can just override those penalties. So, but we are saying no. Regulations for banks should not be rule-based. It should be compliant. It should be risk-based. That is, the banks too should understand their own action, how it is contributing to the detriment of the economy. Then it's from that perspective, CBN discussing with them by way of moral suasion. Then they also understand, of course, there is no banker today who does not understand the role banks play in stabilizing the economy of any nation. In fact, the financial service industry generally, because normally we used to say that once the financial service industry sneezes, other sectors of the economy catches cold.
Certainly,
so
that's very
the CBN and the banks will need to come together and agree that yes, they also want to play their own role. Because for me, it will be to amount to an economic crime. Because if you are doing this hoarding and it's affecting the economy like this, and that's why I'm happy when they say, is it EFCC is going after institutions that are giving people dollar invoicing, you know? Yes, so we need to be patriotic Nigerians. Like we said, it is not only CBN or the government that needs to play a role when it comes to our economy. Every Nigerian has that role to play. And if we're able to do that, of course, we'll see a gradual improvement in our economy.
You have really explained a lot to us concerning the stock market and the cost of living, and how yes, we are all optimistic that Mr. Cardoso will achieve these things in partnership with other government officials, and also the citizens also have a role to play in achieving these things. So back to his speech, there was a clip of the speech that was played where he went on to talk about how the reason why we have dollar scarcity in our society today is because of parents who take their children abroad to study. And also, he also cited things like when people go abroad for medical care, that these things have also affected the hoarding in our society too. So I would like for that clip to be played, but before then, how are these things affecting us, affecting the rising cost of, because right now the dollar rate to the naira is over 1,480 naira. So, but how has this affected? Because we all know parents want a good education for their children. And then when you say it's because they're taking their children abroad, how has this affected them? And then if you want very good health care, we've cited countries in Europe and in the US as providing very good medical care. So how have these things affected us? Please, could you shed more light on this?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You see, yes, the CBN governor making that kind of complaint, for me, is a little bit funny, because you can't stop people if I say I want my child to go to Harvard in the US, and I'm a private citizen, I have my own money, I would just go and buy the dollar and pay the school fees and maybe for our upkeep there. Yes, so it is now, it's like, for me, he is even indicting the government. If you have quality education here in the country, then there will be less tendency for people to send their kids abroad. That is just one. But again, education is something anybody, you want to go any part of the world. If I were in school, in university, we had foreign students, people from other countries coming to Nigeria to study. So you can't stop persons.
Was this a federal university? Sorry for interrupting.
It was even a state university.
A state university,
People were
wow.
coming, we had Cameroonians.
Okay.
Who were in, we have Ghanaians. You know, in fact, I've been told that even in University of Lagos or even UI, they are teaching hospital. We had foreigners coming to University of Lagos, University of Ibadan teaching hospital for treatment in those days. Wow. And if all those facilities have gone down, are you going to blame the ordinary Nigerian? No. But again, government has to show leadership in that regard. We have seen most government officials, a little headache, they have gone abroad. Yes. So why is Mr. Caruso telling us that it is people who are going? Government has to show leadership. I agree, the average Nigerian citizen has to also be confident and believing in our own goods and services.
Yes.
But again, I keep asking myself for knowledge. If I am sick and I believe that this is where I'll get my treatment, even as a government official, there's nothing wrong to say, call these experts from wherever they are, pay them and let them come here and take care of you. And of course, train our own young doctors here, and we'll see an improvement in our healthcare service delivery. These things can be done. You know, so for me, it's not the time for us to begin to complain any longer again. Let government just show leadership, and you'll see that people will begin to follow suit.
Yes, that was well expatiated. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Mr. Charles. I mean, you really delved into that, because when I listened to it, I kept trying to understand why he had to go in that direction. And I figured, yes, if we had functional hospitals, doctors were not going on strike. If we had very good education, if ASU was not go on strike all the time, I don't see any reason why parents will not put their children in schools here in Nigeria and also go to our Nigerian hospitals when the need arises. So still on our cost of living and currency rates in Nigeria, could you please, could you suggest some solutions to us? Yes, the CBN has put this circular in place. It is very important that banks obey what they have put out in that circular. Yeah. But for the fact that like you rightfully started, that if the penalty is whatever price they have to pay for that penalty far outweighs the profits, do you really think that banks should obey this directive? Because we all know that banks are making money from hoarding and speculation. So do you really see that? Yes, I'm sure the CBN has put punitive measures if a bank disobeys, but do you really think that they should?
Well, as somebody who has played for a very long time and have my own little experience from the financial sector, corporate governance is key.
Yes.
Yes, even for quoted companies, even for operators like myself. I also see the banks too as professionals. They have their code of ethics. They have everything in place, because I know that as part of their training, you must pass business ethics and corporate governance. So they should adhere strictly to their operational guidelines, because they are professionals. Even among themselves, they also have their professional bodies that will begin to look at issues of unprofessionalism and all that. That should be taken care of. Good corporate governance, you know, is also very, very important for we to begin to solve some of these problems. But we also have to agree that these are just temporary measures. We have to look at the fundamental cause of this issue. It didn't start in Tinubu's administration.
No, it did not.
You know, I mean, for the past 8-9 years now,
yes,
this is the issue. So we have to go back and look at it. Because again, what most Nigerians do not even understand is there is nowhere in the world you allow your currency to just float, let demand and supply. You will support it from time to time. Those supports are temporary intervention. Even in the US, the American government support the dollar. Even in Europe, in UK, they support it. But that's your support for how long? And some persons have said, yes, some of the former central bankers we had before, they were supporting the Naira. But for how long? So the only solution, or part of the solution we need now, like I have said, is for us to increase our dollar receipts. And there must be some form of our mindset has to change. The lawmakers, that is our parliamentarians, must take the lead, because the average Nigerian, it is them they are seeing.
Yes.
As an ordinary citizen, you can do certain things. But if a lawmaker makes certain pronouncements, then it has a ripple effect. So they also must be seen to be doing the right thing. And I'm happy for them now what they are doing. They are summoning the economic managers to come and explain and talk.
Yes.
There's no hard feelings. They don't hate any of them. It's all of us want a better Nigeria for ourselves and of course for our children yet unborn. So we just all have to be out there to see that we get this solution to make our economy better and at the same time make it a better place, so that young persons will not think of leaving the country to go to other countries. Because I keep asking myself, those countries you are running to, people build those countries. So why can't we stay here and build Nigeria so that all of us can stay and our children yet unborn can also come and they'll begin to praise them that yes, you guys have done quite well. But as it is now, the challenges are there.
Yes.
The hunger is real. So we just need to have a mindset, a change of mindset, and see that we want to have a country that we can call our own and we are proud. I don't want to digress. Look at what happened yesterday. You could see the determination of the Nigerians, and you can see how at the end of the day, we are all united.
Really?
And you can see that we can do that for our economy, but at the same time, let us begin to collaborate with government and do the little we can in our own space. We'll see a gradual improvement in our economy.
Okay, so just before we round up, I want to ask you this question. Considering the potential impact on businesses and consumers this dollar scarcity has caused, how can the government work collaboratively with banks to ensure a smooth transaction and minimize any adverse effects on the broader economy?
Yes, if you look at it, some SMEs are already going down.
Yes.
In fact, I know of a particular SME I do some things for, and the owner is saying, one of their main inputs, they order it abroad. And they are saying, look at the last time in December, we paid less than 1,000 naira per dollar. And now we are doing close over 1,400. It's affecting our operation. And she's saying, I'm going to tell some of my staff to go. You can imagine that. And it is real. She cannot continue that operation and maintain that number of staff. So, yes, the government tried. They lifted ban on some, is it for the 2 of the 3 items, because these were very important inputs for other production. Yes, and that is why the government is saying unify the exchange rate. In the past, you give concession to certain people, they get this dollar at a cheaper rate, and they might not even use it for the purpose in which they are meant for. And that is why President Tinubu and his team said, no, let's unify the rate, so that you don't have people getting dollar at a very lower rate and bringing it to the parallel market without doing anything to make so much money. Yes. That is the real reason why we say unify. But we're not looking at the side effect of this unification of the Naira, and that's why it's affecting businesses. So we are saying, okay, now the rates are being unified, but you need to put measures in place so that it does not have a free fall. Yes. So my advice would be, yes, those order for the 2 or for the 3 items, they have lifted the ban. Yes, the government should continue that. At the same time, monitor it properly. If I have a machine that I will need in my farm to process certain things, and I need to get the machine from abroad, then I can approach government and say, please, because that machine is coming to increase my production, which will increase our output and maybe making the products available and cheaper. Yes. So I can import that input. Those are the kind of things we need to look at that. Government need to look at certain critical industries now, like the agricultural inputs, maybe fertilizer, to increase the production of persons who are involved in that business. It's a lot of monitoring, because people take advantage of certain government waivers and trying to make it easy for businessmen, as long as it goes to the actual businessmen. We'll see an improvement in our economy.